Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you don't miss any of our deep dives into classic and modern rides. Today, we're taking a nostalgic road back to 1976 to explore one of the most iconic hatchbacks to ever hit the streets, the 1976 Ford Fiesta Mk1, and yes, in that classic, fiery red finish that just screams vintage charm. This isn't just any review, this is a deep, full-on look into what made the first-generation Fiesta such a game-changer, why it still holds a special place in the hearts of car lovers, and how it performs in today's world. We'll be breaking down its design, interior quirks, what it's like to drive, and of course, what it costs to own one of these retro gems today. So buckle up, whether you're a classic car collector, a Ford enthusiast, or just love a good vintage story, you're in for a ride. Exterior. Let's kick things off with the exterior, because let's be honest, the first impression of any classic starts with how it looks. The 1976 Ford Fiesta Mk1 was Ford's very first foray into the front-wheel drive hatchback segment. It was their answer to the fuel crisis and growing demand for small, practical cars in Europe. Designed in the early 70s and hitting production in 76, the Mk1 Fiesta had an unmistakably simple but charming design that still manages to turn heads today. Finished in that beautiful, vibrant red, which was one of the most popular colors at launch, the Fiesta Mk1 has a kind of understated sporty flair. It doesn't shout for attention with wide arches or aggressive lines. Instead, it uses subtle curves, a compact body, and that clean grille and headlamp setup to speak volumes. Up front, you get rectangular headlamps neatly set into the slim front fascia. The grille is minimalist with horizontal black slats and the iconic blue oval badge right in the center. The bumpers are thin chrome pieces, no plastic cladding, no oversized anything, just pure 1970s honesty. Those little indicators sitting below the headlights give it that quintessential old-school look. Along the sides, you'll notice the compact proportions. The Mk1 is just under 12 feet long and sits on 12-inch steel wheels, yes, 12 inches. By today's standards, they look tiny, but back then, they were just right. The red paint really comes alive under the sun, especially with the simple black pinstripe down the sides. And you can't miss those cute chrome door handles and thin door mirrors, totally period correct. The rear of the Fiesta continues the minimalist theme. Squared taillights, a small hatch, and a chrome rear bumper wrap things up. There's a small Fiesta script badge on the back, and that's it. No spoilers, no fake vents, no nonsense. Just function-driven design. It's not flashy, but there's a timeless elegance to it. This car represents the era of less is more, and in this red finish, it's just bursting with personality. Interior. Climb inside the 1976 Ford Fiesta Mk1 and you're instantly transported back to a simpler time, no digital screens, no ambient lighting, no touch-sensitive nonsense. This is pure analog charm, and honestly, it's refreshing. The cabin is tiny by modern standards, but it doesn't feel cramped. Once you're in, you're greeted by two slim bucket seats up front, trimmed in classic vinyl with cloth inserts. Our red Fiesta here features a black and gray interior color scheme, which contrasts nicely with the bright exterior. The dashboard is a hard plastic piece, but surprisingly well put together for a late 70s economy car. The instrument cluster is simple, you've got a speedometer, fuel gauge, and some warning lights. That's it. No tachometer unless you went for higher trims or sportier versions like the XR2 later on. But what it lacks in tech, it makes up for in charm. You've got a thin, two-spoke steering wheel that feels like it belongs in a go-kart, and that's not a bad thing. There are no buttons, no airbags, just raw mechanical feel. The gear shifter is a skinny stick sprouting from the floor, giving you that real mechanical connection to the 4-speed manual gearbox underneath. Ventilation controls are slide levers, and the heating system is basic but functional. The radio. It's an AM/FM unit with a twist knob and maybe a cassette player if you got lucky. That's your infotainment center, folks, and honestly, it's all you needed back then. In the back, it's tight but usable. This was marketed as a super mini, and Ford nailed the proportions. You could fit 2 passengers in the back if they're not over 6 feet tall. The seats fold down to increase cargo space, and the rear hatch opens wide enough to make loading easy. Build quality. For 1976, it was actually pretty decent. Sure, there's a bit of flex in the plastics, and nothing is damped, but it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. This was built to a price, but it wasn't built cheap. It was built smart. What's most surprising is how light everything feels, the doors, the steering, even the pedals. It's all designed to be simple, functional, and lightweight. Performance. Now let's talk about how it drives, because that's where the Fiesta really earns its reputation. Under the hood of our 1976 model, we've got a 1.1-liter inline-4 engine, part of Ford's Kent engine family. It produces a modest 53 horsepower and about 77 Nm of torque. Not much on paper, right? But remember, the Mk1 Fiesta weighs under 800 kilograms. That's feather-light by today's standards. 0 to 60. Around 16 seconds. Top speed. About 87 miles per hour or 140 kilometers per hour. But forget the numbers for a second, it's how the Fiesta feels that makes it fun. With front-wheel drive and a super light chassis, the Mk1 is nimble and chuckable in corners. There's barely any power, so you can floor it without fear. The car leans in corners but grips surprisingly well thanks to its lightweight and well-tuned suspension. The ride is firm but not punishing, and visibility is excellent, big windows, thin pillars, and no electronic interference. The gearbox is a joy to use, short throws, mechanical feel, and that perfect old-school clunk when you slot it into gear. The clutch is light, the steering is unassisted but direct, and the brakes, front discs and rear drums, get the job done if you don't push too hard. Driving a Mk1 Fiesta today is like stepping into a time machine. It's not about speed, it's about engagement. Every gear change, every turn, every throttle input is felt directly. There's no filter. No computer. Just you and the machine. It's easy to see why the Fiesta became such a huge success. It was fun, economical, cheap to run, and easy to repair. And even today, it's a surprisingly enjoyable car on a twisty back road. Prices. Alright, so what does it cost to own a piece of Ford history like this? Well, prices for the 1976 Ford Fiesta Mk1 vary depending on condition, originality, and provenance. A project car with rust and missing parts might set you back around $2,000 to $4,000, but you'll be investing a lot in restoration. A clean, running example, maybe not show quality, but solid and drivable, will typically run in the $7,000 to $10,000 range. These are often enthusiast-owned cars that have been well cared for. If you want a pristine, fully restored Fiesta Mk1, especially one in original factory red, with matching numbers and some historical documentation, expect to pay anywhere from $12,000 to $18,000, possibly more if it's a rare trim or limited edition. One thing to remember, the Mk1 Fiesta is becoming increasingly collectible. As time passes, fewer clean examples survive. That means values are likely to rise, especially for early production models like the 76. Running costs. They're minimal. Parts are still relatively easy to find in the UK and parts of Europe. Fuel economy is excellent, we're talking over 35 mpg, and insurance is dirt cheap, especially if you register it as a classic. It's not just a car, it's an investment in nostalgia. And one that won't break the bank. So there you have it, the full story on the 1976 Ford Fiesta Mk1 in classic red. It's small, simple, and maybe a bit underpowered, but it's also full of heart, loaded with personality, and an absolute joy to drive if you're in the right mindset. It marked the beginning of a legacy for Ford, a car that would go on to become one of the best-selling nameplates in Europe. Whether you're looking to get into classic car ownership for the first time or you're just a fan of vintage design, the Mk1 Fiesta is a fantastic entry point. And in red? It doesn't get more iconic than that. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and let us know in the comments, have you ever owned a Mk1 Fiesta? Or maybe you're thinking about getting one? Share your stories, we love hearing from fellow enthusiasts. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep driving, keep dreaming, and we'll see you in the next one.